Welcome back to Coffee with the Wolves, presented by JJC Athletics. I'm your host, Damian Ennis, and this week we're going to be talking about wrestling. Joining me, Wolves coach Gary Woods. Gary, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's been many months since you last were on. We had you on pretty much after your season last year,
March.
so a lot of stuff has happened since then. Your season's underway. Before we get into that, it's called Coffee with the Wolves. You drink coffee? Did you have any coffee today?
I didn't this morning, but my girls know I love me some Starbucks, so gotta have me some of that dragon fruit refresher. Not so much coffee.
Yeah.
But.
Sean last week on the show mentioned that, and I told him the same story I'm about to tell you. My 4-year-old wanted one like a week ago and took one sip and then proceeded to dump it all over herself.
Oh, dang, that's a waste.
And then she's been asking for one again, and I'm like, no, not at all.
That's funny. My kids know that I get a train to, it's the biggest one you can get for the start of the wrestling tournaments.
And also, it's the day after Thanksgiving. Not when we're recording this, but when it's coming out.
Yeah.
So, Thanksgiving plans?
Yeah, I'm going to actually spend time with my wife flies in tomorrow from Virginia, and my parents are coming out from North Carolina. We're going to spend 3 days in Burlington, Iowa, and in Jackson, Missouri, which is where my grandma is. So
okay. I was like,
a little family. Yeah, a little bouncing around going on.
Well, the day before Thanksgiving's my birthday, so I'm just going to be doing me things.
Well, hey, that's what I'm talking about,
But let's jump into this. Your season's underway, and you've already had a lot of success to start the year. Would you mind just kind of recapping, telling our listeners how the season's going so far?
Yeah, look, we started off rough in the preseason, losing some wrestlers to some injuries and other things, and so it was kind of a rough, shaky start, and we've got off now. As of yesterday, we've got 5 for nationally ranked Wolves, 3 women ranked and two men ranked. Last week was probably our best tournament we've had since I've been on campus with 4 placers, and we still couldn't wrestle one of our girls because their weight class wasn't available. So I'm excited. We still have a lot of learning to do, and it'll come with time. I think we'll be ready come next semester, but right now it's just going to keep grinding.
You've only got 1 or 2 meets left before, the holiday break in December and then the new year, right?
Yeah. So we got 2 female events left and 1 male event left.
What's it like kind of coaching both sides? Because I think I asked you this last time we spoke, but there's a bit of a difference between coaching men's and women's wrestling.
Yeah, so, this semester is probably the toughest when we start off because the girls haven't wrestled. My girls are looking through the camera, looking over there making fun of me. So, like with the girls, they have never wrestled freestyle, and if they have, it's been a handful of matches. So to start the year off with, we definitely have split practices, very few combined, which makes it more hours on myself and Coach Merchant, who's our assistant coach. But between the two of us, we make it work. Next semester, I hope to kind of blend the practices together a little more to try to cut down on our hours and up our recruiting hours. Going back and forth, it's very delicate. The men, they know what they're doing. They know, what a wrestling season looks like. They know what folk style is. They've been doing it since the time that they could walk or, from the time they picked up the sport. The women, we have to change their whole mindset to keep it going.
Now, at this point, what's the season like compared to last year? Because last year was your first season here at JJC. You're kind of now you got your footing in. You've recruited. Over the summer and the fall, you were telling me about all the kids coming in. So you were clearly very excited about this season. What's kind of the difference in the atmosphere like around your program?
Yeah, well, we have a lot more kids, so we can do a lot more things. The women's side's still a little low. We recruited really hard, but unfortunately, due to some injuries and some other things, like we've gotten down to about 7 to 8 girls on the team. So it makes it a little challenging on the girls' side right now as we're still trying to build that program. But on the men's side, we've got 14 wrestlers, but they're 14 dedicated wrestlers. So with them being that many compared to our 5 or 6 that we had last year, it makes us where we can actually get a good practice in and not just focus on one person every day.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of your student athletes. I know Paulie returns this year, but I want to talk a little bit about some of those placers from this last event you participated in, because we have 2 of them coming on the show after you. So specifically about those 2, but also all 4 of them that placed at the event.
Yeah, so Logan, who's going to be on the show, he's Guerrero. He came out of North Central, took off a year, and now he's back. And he's giving it one more go, he said, and we'll see what he takes him after that. But I'm really expecting a lot of things out of the 141-pound weight class out of him, which he showed us right off the bat on his first match at Albion. So, he didn't wrestle the first 2 weeks for us, and now he's back, and we're ready to go. On the men's side, you got Paul Clausen, which is our 197 pounder right now. He took a year or two off, and so he's an older guy. He knows what he needs to do. He's been coaching at high school at Bolingbrook a little bit in between his times on the mat and off the mat. So, he's the hardest. His biggest problem is his own self. So it's more about just talking him through it and getting himself to believe that he still belongs on the wrestling mat, kind of like what we had to do with Paulie last year.
Yeah.
This weekend was a big tall tale of that. I mean, he was sick all week long, like to the point that we almost pulled him out of the tournament. Mm-hmm. He wrestled his first match. Honestly, he'll tell you he didn't look too great, but he turned around, and next thing you know, he gets on this hot streak and starts dominating everybody while he's still not feeling 100%. So that was pretty impressive for him, and now he knows he belongs, and we're back at it again. We started back at it on Monday. Now on the women's side, we've got for their 2 places this week, we had Jessica Kumalate. I probably butchered her name still. I try. Jess is what we call her. Jess is, she comes out of Oak Forest. She's tough cat. She knows how to dominate a match, but the problem is she gets a little zealous sometimes and gets over carried away, which isn't the most beneficial thing when it comes to freestyle. So we had to calm her down after that first tournament, and once she started calming down, we started to win some matches, and I think the future is very bright for her at 180 pounds. We'll see if we stay there or if we move up or down. That'll be the interesting question. And then when it comes to Elliana, we call her E. E is a beast. E wrestled 2 years ago. She's a 2-time state qualifier, maybe placer. I can't remember right off the top of my head. At 138 pounds, and she's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and she proved that right off the bat when she upset the number 8 girl in the country at the time, who is now no longer ranked because he knocked her off. But E has a mixed martial arts background. Like, that's what she's been doing. She's one of the hardest working girls on the team by far. I mean, I can show up on campus, and it doesn't matter if it's raining, sunning, anything. She's outside running, and she trains all the time.
Yeah. What's it like to see kind of the women's team progress the way they have? And especially, I know last year an academic award for that team too. So, I know we spoke before the season began. You were hoping to see them kind of get first place in that academic standpoint.
Yeah, so, we finished 5th last year in the academic standpoint for the nation. So, we started off strong. We'll see what the grades look like at the end of the semester. It's coming to an end. And, some people have dropped classes and stuff, which isn't going to help us. But, we'll see. I have high expectations for our girls on the academic side. They know that. It's something I preach very hard. So we'll see. We have an award that's called the Alpha Award here at JJC, and last year we won it. And I keep telling everybody, don't worry about trying for it because we're going to win it. It's not even up for grabs. But we'll see what the girls have to say about that. Again, with some of the losses that we had early in the season, knocked out some of our top academic players, but our other wrestlers are very smart too. Like I said, they're academically inclined. There's no doubt about it.
Now, Gary, I told you I was going to keep our segment short. We're actually we went a couple minutes longer than I anticipated, but we had to get these few points out of the way. But we are going to end it a little bit short because we got 2 of your athletes. We got Logan and E coming up, and I want to give them ample time. But we need to get you on again, probably, maybe in the new year, maybe before the holiday break. We'll see.
Fine. We can make something work.
Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, Gary, thanks for joining me here on Coffee with the Wolves, and also happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving,
you too, and happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And next up here on Coffee with the Wolves, I'm joined by men's wrestler Logan Guerrero. Logan,
how's it going?
First time here on Coffee with the Wolves. First time ever on a podcast, video chat, whatever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. Men's wrestling's off to a great start so far. How do you feel about the way this team's progressing so far in the season?
I think like from the beginning of the season to now, like where we started to where we are now, I think everybody's getting the gist of it now. So like when when we started, everybody was messing around, didn't really wasn't really in it until after I would say that first tournament, then everybody like had their eyes opened. And so now like between then and now everybody's working much harder. They see the level of, even though it's just a JUCO class, they see the level of competition from high school to where it is now, that okay, like we need to step it up.
Yeah. What's that transition like from high school to even JUCO? Because, you know, there are some people who are probably gonna think it's not that big of a step, but it really is.
Yeah, so my parents were explaining this to me too as well. It's no matter like where you go, whether it's D3, D2, D1, NCAA, or you go to a JUCO, it's always gonna be a difficulty. Now we know JUCO is mainly for gen eds, like a step forth, like for kids that can't go straight to like a 4-year college. And they come to a JUCO, it's more affordable, but it still gives you the learning for the gen eds that you need.
Hmm.
Um, and it's still like a pretty rough patch. I could find myself, I'm sure other wrestlers and other athletes in general can find themselves like, struggling a little bit in classes, but I feel like there's more resources here for a JUCO to excel better, to
Hmm.
put you in that 4-year college level. They get you prepared for a 4-year college. So it's, jumping from high school to even just a JUCO, it's still a big step.
Yeah.
Whether you take JUCO or 4-year college, it's still a big step.
Yeah. Uh, what was one of the reasons you chose to come to JJC? And affordability aside, because that's
Yeah.
usually an answer a lot of kids give. But, uh, you know, for you, what drew you maybe to Coach Woods and the program?
So actually, fun fact about me, 2 years ago, I went to North Central. I was
Hmm.
at North Central College in Naperville. It's a D3 NCAA school for athletics, and it was a very nice school. I was able to afford it, but actually my parents had actually paid for it. But it was 3,000 for the whole year,
Hmm.
and the next year when I went to re-enroll, it was 4,800 a semester. They took away a bunch of my grants, saying that my parents made too much money,
Hmm.
and I was gonna have to pay for that first semester, which I had no problem with, but it was a big jump. So I decided to take school off. My parents insisted on me coming to JJC for a trade, but also at the time I wasn't in the mindset that I am now. And I was kind of like on my own thing, trying to like find my own way type of mindset, but I was also like in a depression stage. Like, so I wasn't really there
Yeah.
in the mind at all. And I had a girlfriend at the time, so I was a little offset. And so eventually, like last February 1st, my girlfriend broke up with me, was in a down and out stage, but I picked myself right back up,
Hmm.
got into a way better mindset than I've ever been. Like I'm a totally different person. I got way closer with God, and that was one of my biggest steps and one of my biggest accomplishments for me. And so um, I decided to come to JJC for a trade. I was talking with my parents about it, my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, I think that's a good idea because now you could just a trade is something to get your feet off the ground, and if you want to go back to a college after that, once you have your your foundation set, go back to college for your business degree. That's possible, or you could stick with your trade and keep making really good money." And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll go to JJC for a trade." First, I was thinking automotive.
Hmm.
My parents were like, automotive, it's not the thing right now. It's, there's too many competition out there.
Hmm.
They're not really looking for workers. HVAC is really good money. Electrician, really good money, and they're really looking for workers. I was like, you know what? I'll do HVAC.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me into HVAC, and so now I'm here at JJC taking HVAC. And the year that I took off, I actually started coaching. So
Yeah.
I was coaching a little kids club in Downers Grove. Yeah, Downers Grove. It was Downers Grove Wrestling Club. And when that season ended, came to school, and I was actually going to continue coaching. I was not going to wrestle this year.
Yeah.
And so my dad's like, hey, you know what? This might be your last year of wrestling. This might be your last year of school because you're not that big of a school person. I say you should go out for your last year because you could wrestle at JJC.
Yeah.
I think you should go out for your last year and give it one last bang. I was like, you know what? I'll do that. So an old wrestler that came here, Lukman Masood. He was here 2 years ago, graduated 2 years ago. Now he's at Mizzou. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, you think you could reach out to the coach? And he was like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. I think there's new coaches there, but I'll let you know. And so I actually went onto the JJC website to look up the coaches, and I think I found Merch first. Reached out to Merch by email. Then he got back to me, and then I met up with him and Woods.
Yeah.
And when I met up with them, like especially when I met Woods, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a really great relationship with my coaches.
Yeah.
I know that for sure.
And after so much time away and all that, the whole story you just told me,
Yeah.
you know, how did kind of coming back to wrestling as a competitor, was there any sort of difficulty in that, or did you pick it up like that?
No, I actually I feel like from where I was 2 years ago as a wrestler to where I am now, I'm a much better wrestler than what I was. And I don't know if that's just because, taking off time. I know coaches say it, being a coach, you learn more you learn more in wrestling as being a coach, but I feel a lot better, a lot faster, a lot stronger than when I was at North Central 2 years ago. I haven't been in real competition for almost a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
For about 2 years, I had 6 matches at North Central total the whole year, and the rest of the year that I didn't have any matches, I wrestled with our two-time national champ Robbie Preeson and his brother Brandon Preeson outside of practices, and I give big props to them for getting me out of my comfort zone and getting me to where I am and taking that year off as being a coach, just like looking and watching, studying the sport. I think it helped me greatly. So now coming back into wrestling, like I felt really light. I felt really good. I shot up last year to from 130 to 175, and then I came down and dropped my weight, and now I'm at 141,
Yep.
and I feel strong. I feel fast. Like I feel like I can move. My eyes are opened up. I feel like I see more things that I couldn't before, and it's a different type of progress. So I don't think there was any difficulty me, coming back in it. My lungs were great. They're not the best, but they were great. They were better than most. So I feel like I can outlast my opponents, and I'm still working at it. I actually just bought a training mask so that it restricts my breathing, so that if I go for runs or I practice with it or work out with it, when I take it off, I'll breathe normally. As compared to like when you
Yeah.
have it on, it feels like asthma,
Yeah.
but it trains your lungs, so
Yeah.
it's really good, and I think that's where I'm gonna get most of my opponents this year.
Cool. I want to ask, what do you like about Coach Wood's coaching style?
To be honest, I can't put much on it, because I had just met, the past few months, what I can say is I trust him completely.
Yeah.
And that is something that I had to break out of my own mindset. And I'm going to refer back to North Central. I didn't trust my coaches. The one that I trusted was Brandon Preeson. So, coming out of my mindset of like, yeah, I cannot do this my own way anymore. Like I had to put full trust on Coach Woods, and I full-heartedly believe I am going to be set out for the national tournament. Like my goal, I see myself at the top of the podium at that national tournament, and it's because of him.
Hey, that's awesome. Logan, I'd love to keep this chat going, but we got to get E on.
No
So
worries.
hopefully we can maybe get you on again. I know I
Yeah.
said the same thing to your coach, but we need wrestling on the show more often.
Yeah, we
So,
do.
yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to
Thank you
speak
so
with me.
much for having me. I'm super excited.
And next up here on Coffee with the Wolves, I'm joined by women's wrestler E. I'm going to call you E. And next up here,
Yeah.
I'm not trying.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
We watched your coach butcher your name earlier, so I'm not even going to bother.
It's Elliana, so
It's not that hard, I guess.
eh,
But.
I'm free anyways. It's okay.
So you had a lot of success in the recent event that women's wrestling participated in, and the team overall is doing really well this year. So, just what are your thoughts on where this team is and your performance so far this season?
Well, that tournament was pretty fun actually. Coming from folk style to freestyle was a big like change, but Woods like made it really easy to learn like the simple guts and whatever. But with the girls that I'm wrestling with, they have some freestyle experience, so wrestling with them was great. And um, having girl teammates. I didn't really in high school, so this was fun. And they just keep it motivating coming to practice. It's all really is just fun and games. But I love wrestling, so.
What's the I guess chemistry like between you and your teammates on the women's side? Because like you just said, you didn't really have women teammates, in high school. So, what's that kind of been like?
Right, it's definitely different than having like a bunch of boys on the bus and they're talking about whatever. But um, they just keep it like motivating to keep coming to practice and stuff. It's like you're all in it together, and you push each other more, and it's nice to see like different how do I say, like different skill sets, I guess, because women, I feel like they tend to have more like flexibility, mobility compared to men. Sometimes wrestling is really hard, so we tend to up that, but wrestling with the girls is really fun, and yeah, they always keep it fun, so.
Yeah. So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. JJC, what kind of drew you to come here and wrestle here at JJC?
So I'm originally from Evergreen Park, and there's not many colleges around there that have women's wrestling.
Mhm.
But I moved to Plainfield, and I was like, man, you know what? Like, I really miss wrestling. Like, maybe is there something out here? And I was like, and I look on Juliet's like website, and they're like, oh, they have women's wrestling. It's like their first year was last year, and
Yep.
like, oh, okay, and they have 4 girls, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm sure they wouldn't mind taking me in, and they did have no problem.
Yeah.
So.
What do you like about Coach Wood's kind of coaching style, his philosophy? Do you get along with your coach?
No, I don't. No, he's great. Well, how I should say is like talking about back to like the from folk style to freestyle.
Yeah.
He made that really easy transitioning. Like, I wouldn't say it was really much of a difference, to be honest. As long as like I can shoot and get to the legs, like I can do the same folk style freestyle. So it's nice being able to just lay on the ground too, and after 10 seconds, okay, you're back up instead of having to fight and get back up. Like, I hated that part. So.
Um, I believe your coach mentioned you had a background in, was it MMA?
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I started like MMA and jiu-jitsu when I was like 16, and then my coach there, he was like, you should do wrestling in high school, like it's becoming a new thing for girls, so you should try it out. I was like, okay, but and turns out it was like one of my favorite things. Like,
Yeah.
I still do it to this day. It's like perfect. It correlates so well.
Um, what are some of the things you take from, the MMA background and bring to your performance here at JJC?
I think it definitely made me tougher. There's lots of chokes, and when you're going for a double leg in wrestling, you don't have to worry about getting your neck like taken for a guillotine. So it's nice, like when I go now for double legs, like I can pick these girls up maybe and like slam them or something. So that's the difference, and it just made me a tougher like person and helped me stay like disciplined and like always coming, and
Yeah.
you just gotta show up.
What's the competition difference been like from high school to JUCO? And then also, I know you guys aren't just facing other junior colleges, you're facing some 4-year institutions, 4-year programs. So, kind of what's the, competition level like, and how is it different from high school?
Definitely the girls are now like way better. Like, I feel like from high school to college, like high school I could like run through a tournament pretty good, and I have no scratches, like I'm chilling. But now it's like, ooh, okay, this girl has some experience. A lot of these girls have way more experience than I do, and it's like, and I try not to really care about that. I really don't. But I know like some of my teammates, they'll like bring up like, oh, this girl's ranked this and this from last year to this year. But they are better in their skill sets. Freestyle is definitely like a girls like from college, like that's all we do now. So they're really good, and I think it's fun. I love all the competition actually.
So what's your major here at JJC, if you have one yet? And if not, just what are you studying in general?
Criminal justice. I'm actually looking maybe to work for like a community service officer, maybe for Joliet or something.
That's cool.
But yeah.
Do you have plans to keep wrestling if you can beyond JJC, or is this kind of it?
No, I hope if there's an opportunity, maybe I can go with Woods wherever he goes in the future. But um, if not, like, if there's any opportunity, I'll take it. It's such a fun sport. Like, I've loved it since the first day. So
That's actually a good question. And so you got into MMA, jiu-jitsu. Oh my god, I can't talk. You got into MMA at like 16 years old. And did you start wrestling that same year?
um, the year after, I believe,
So you've only been wrestling for maybe 2-3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
This
you
will
know,
be my third.
did you ever think when you were younger you'd be wrestling?
Oh God, no. Oh, maybe I was really into like WWE as a kid. Like,
Who isn't?
I know, like Rey Mysterio was my guy, but
Funny you mentioned that. I have something to show you
oh, okay.
when we stop recording. But
Yeah. That was, yeah, no, that was mainly, I don't know, I've always just been like a rough kid, so that's, and then I don't know, it just kind of like all like worked out into jiu-jitsu. I was like, okay, cool.
well, I'm not gonna take up more of your time here. I didn't ask Logan this. I did ask your coach this, but we're recording this, a week before Thanksgiving. But what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Like, do you have any plans? You spend time with family, or are you just gonna be in the gym, or both?
Well, I'm mainly concerned about the food. I know we got to worry about weight and all that, but ooh,
Good point. I didn't even think of that.
yeah. But no, hanging out with friends and family. I always got to practice though every day, even on Thanksgiving. I'm going to probably do some jiu-jitsu maybe.
Nice.
Sweat a little before.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be back next week for more Coffee with the Wolves.